Thank you very much for inviting me for this session. I'm very glad. Felda Group, consisting of Felda, which manage the smallholders, organized smallholders, and Felda Global Ventures, manages plantations. We have more than 900,000 hectares of land banks. Out of that, 90% is oil palm, and the rest are rubber. The rest are rubber. We produce 3.2 million tons of CPO every year, and we represent 18% of Malaysian production of CPO. We are very much engaged with organized smallholders, and we purchase not only fruit from smallholders, Felda, but also purchase fruits from smallholders, non-Felda, either directly or through dealers. And FJB is a very strong R&D. Our research division, we produce world-class planting material, Yandami. I think probably most of you know about it. And we own 30% of market share in the sales of this planting material. And we have 40 years experience. And we are also involved in tissue culture, molecular marker, and also disease tolerant materials and others. So that makes probably FGV is the most important companies to look whether it is sustainable or not sustainable. And the answer is, of course, we want to be sustainable. When you talk about sustainability, there are two things in my mind which is very important. Number one, we do sustainability because of our future generations. We have to take care of our land, our plantation. It has to be best management practice. We want to make sure that we do not, the future generation will still own the land, and it is sustainable. Therefore, to us, RSPO, which is the sustainable system, is very, very important, and FJB is committed to implementing RSPO. Or sustainability system, doesn't matter whether it is RSPO, MSPO, or ISCC, because we have RSPO, we have ICC, and in fact, we look at our FGB, Global Ventures. We have all the certification, ISOs. We got 9,000, 14,000, 17,025. We have OSHA. We have everything because we want to be sustainable. We want to be a responsible company. As far as our Global Ventures is concerned, right now, our 22 complexes, which is mills, plus 4 or 5 estates to 1 mill, are certified with RSPO. And out of that, we produce 800,000 metric ton of CSPO. And from there, 135 estates are being certified. And we also have got a certification for 235,650 hectares of land. All these are certified. But when we talk about sustainability, RSPO, it is not an easy journey. While trying to practice this, we face challenges here and there. Number one challenges is what Dato has mentioned just now, is cost. When you want to do RSPO, especially now, we have to HCB, HCS, PIT study, and all those things. All these cost money. And you have to pay for the cost of preparation for RSPO, you got to pay for the auditors, you got to pay for repeat auditing, surveillance audit every year. All these cost money. And the surveillance audit for one complex will cost somewhere around 50,000 ringgit per complex. So you think it's not really cheap. It is really very expensive for RSPO. And then even though it is expensive, because we are committed to do sustainability, we still go for it. We work together with the stakeholders, the buyers, the union, the NGOs, Recently you heard about the anti-palm oil campaign in Europe, particularly in France. We are also working together. We have our team working in Europe. We have our team working in the US to talk about sustainability, to talk about how is RSPO being implemented in Malaysia, particularly in Felda Global Ventures. We call our partners in US, come over here and visit places so that when they go back there, they can explain to the people in US that we are actually sustainable. It's not just talk, but actually we practice what we talk. And we are also, when you talk about issues, one of the issues is even if you want to open up a new land, greenfield, it is difficult now. The cost is not really that cheap. If you have to open up new land, you have to go for HCV, HCS, big development, environmental study, and all other things. All these are costs. It can come into close to $500,000 or $750,000 to do all this. And in the end, you find that if the land is not suitable, money just gone. It's a sunken cost. And if you have to develop green land in Indonesia, for example, Indonesia now, they put protectionism against their own players in Indonesia. So they limit your hectareage. They limit your hectareage even in the state itself. Indonesia is 100,000 hectares, but within the states, you can only develop 20,000 hectares. So I mean, your land is going to be scattered. And not only that, there are certain rulings and policies are put in place to protect their players. So for us, Malaysia, who do not have any more land in Malaysia to develop, you can go overseas. It's not really that easy. Of course, it is their right, it is their land, they can do all that. Then when you talk about you try to expand in brownfield, same thing. If you want to try to take over lands in Malaysia, probably you want to buy from some smaller plantations. You want to buy from other plantations which doesn't have RSPO. You got to do the whole thing in here. HCS, HCB, EIA, peak development, and all those things. And then you find that if you try to buy the land from smallholders, if they want to sell the land to us, you have to reserve for riparian areas, you have to reserve for HCS, HCB areas. Then in the end, even if you buy 100% of land, the productive land probably only 50%. So when we talk about RSPO, in the midst of trying to implement things, it is not as easy as what we say. And you know that in implementing RSPO itself, there are costs with it. The annual audit cost, the standard, the supplier profiling which is now being asked is not free of charge. You have to profile your supplier, your CPO supplier, your FAB supplier. This has got, it costs money. So the cost keeps on coming up from time to time. I think sustainability is not cheap. But again, it is our responsibility and we are committed to it, we have to do it. Expansion in overseas, you have to go into new areas. You have to go into Africa, you have to go into Papua New Guinea. It's not really that easy. Because this is an area to us. The culture is different, the language is different, the policies are different. You got to do the groundwork. But to do studies, again, it requires high capital commitment. It is quite risky. So, latest, currently, the current problem is labor issues, labor shortages. Our people in Malaysia, you know that the employment for the younger generation is quite high. But they do not want to work in estates. They do not want to work in plantations. They do not want to do harvesting, weeding, pruning, manuring, all those, they say, these are not my job. I want to be in econ office. You know, the mindset has changed. The GY in Malaysia is not looking plantation as the thing that they want to do, they want to improve, or they want to excel in. We have to bring people from outside. We have to import labor from Indonesia, Nepal, Bangladesh, India, and this is not cheap. You know, so meaning that even though you know that crude palm oil is actually Malaysia's best income revenue next to oil and gas. But again, it's not easy, and we have to make it sustainable not only in the environmental side, but also we have to make it sustainable into the economic side. We have to look into this. So, you see, when we talk about doing all these things, we are committed to do the sustainability, but things keep on coming up, the costs keep on going up higher and higher. There we see there is a need of something that we go to do the same, but even better we can and cheaper. That's where MSPO comes in. I think MSPO is a good thing, but we have to make it equitable, or we have to make it better than RSPO. There's a long journey in front of us. How do we make it acceptable to the stakeholders, the buyer, the users, the consumers? You know, all this is very important. We've got to work hard. We have to study from the experience of Indonesia, ISPO. We cannot follow what is being done in Indonesia. If you just follow them, we'll do the same mistake as what they have done. So what we have to do is that study how does Indonesia carry on with manage their ISPO, what are the challenges, what are the successes, what are the failures, and we learn from that. And we have to improve our MSPO. We cannot make MSPO as just another ISPO. No, it has to be better than that. So we have to look at that. For future, you know, companies in FJB, we are committed in developing productive agricultural areas, improving living standards, and promoting effective agricultural management. This is our FPO. This is sustainability. We are committed to certify all our plantation and smallholders crop by 2015. By 2015, in two more years. We have 72 mills, that means 72 complexes. We are going to do it. We are going to do it. And the deadline is by 2015, next year. End of next year. And I told you just now, the 24 complexes, 135 estates, 225,650 hectares, this is already certified. But there's more coming because we have over 900,000 hectares of land. So now they have been certified with 24 complexes. There are more complexes to go. And my RSPO guy, there, sitting there, Norazam, is working hard to get it done. And one of the issues is that in Malaysia there's only one CB, Intertech, that can certify your RSPO auditing certification. Only one CB. And you got another one coming from Indonesia, but working in Malaysia. So you see, these are the things that RSPO has got this problem. We have report to RSPO. If you want us to be certified, you have to make sure that the CP are enough to certify us. MSPO has got to look into this. If MSPO will be successful, how many plantations, how many estates, how many mills and refineries they have in Malaysia? You must have enough CP to get of all these things. Otherwise, it's just only talk. And in FGP, Federal Global Ventures, you know, we have got this much of land, and it's difficult to find land anymore for expansion. What do? You can only do two things. Number one, you have to improve your yield from the land that you have now. And our R&D is working hard. That's why I said just now, we work on the tissue culture, molecular things, so that we can improve our yield. Now, you know that Felda is marginal land. It's a land that settler doesn't want anymore. So they give it to Felda, become plantation, and finally become Felda Global Ventures estates. We have to improve this. And it is time for now to do replanting. Replanting is a correction time. Last time you find that the stamp hectare is not enough. Now you put it enough. Last time there is no terrace. Now you put terrace. Last time the road is, you know, crisscrossing. Now you organize your road. And now, last time your plantation, you have your fronds, like long fronds, 15 feet fronds. So you cannot plant so much. But the new one got three-way crossing, where the fronds is shorter. With shorter fronds, you can have more stems per hectare. With more stems per hectare, you can get more fruits. 1 hectare, you tanam 20 trees of durian, compared to somebody plant 30 trees of durian. Definitely 30 trees of durian get more fruits than 20 trees of durian. So we are planting now with more high density plantation. You can go to 146 stems per hectare. You can go to 160 stems per hectare. This is what we are doing in Felda to increase the yield from the same area of land. And then the second thing is that mechanization. You know, labor shortage. So you put in mechanization. How are you going to harvest the fruits? How are you going to bring the fruits out? How are you going to do manually? How are you going to do pest herbicide spray? All this is mechanization. So those are the things that we do in Felda to make sure that palm plantations are sustainable. So I think it is up to now. Later I will add things more if there's any question. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're very happy to know that everybody is highly committed towards sustainability. Now we come to Dr. Mahmud Mandan, the Chief Executive Officer of the Malaysian Palm Association. The floor is yours.
Know that the future constraint is now. Now, then you have to do more with less. So there is no turning back here. We must be very sure what we are doing now, because otherwise, if we are not clear what we are doing, we will be always trying to answer everything that is according to what being thrown at us. And I've been realizing that all this while in the RSPO, we have been reactive in our strategy. We are not proactive. Somebody throw at you, you will respond. Throw at you, respond. Suddenly, the person who throw at you is setting the agenda for you. My question is that I begin to realize that, you know, this parable, the legend Putri Gunung Medang, what she told Sultan Mahmud that she doesn't want to get married with Sultan Mahmud. But the way she told her, yes, I can get married to you, but these are the conditions. All these make things impossible for you to do. So, while we hear just now, the uptake is less than 50% CSPO in Europe. They only consume about between 10 to 12% of our market. And they have an anti-palm oil campaign. Can you read in between the lines? Anti-palm oil, all the RSPO details, the devils are only in the details, and they tell all this. And I realized that then I must thank the minister and also to NPOB. Yes, we must have MSPO. We must set our own destiny, we set our agenda. And I'm questioning some of the premise and precept on sustainability. Because number one, on several occasions I told them that, how do you define sustainability? The spirit of sustainability, according to the Provident Commission, is that meeting the current societal need without sacrificing or compromising the future needs and the capacity for the future generations. That's why it's always life cycle is being included in the criteria. So we must understand the theoretical framework. Then I ask them, where is your working model that we should emulate in sustainability? What we know is that raw majority of the criteria that is being imposed in the Forest Stewardship Council is being contrived into the palm oil, and you call it palm oil sustainability. It's all about trying to save the rainforest, and you call it palm oil sustainability. So to me, why are we so uncritical about this? I'm sorry, when I get into this situation, I told the panel that the council, if I cannot achieve it, MSPO by the end of 2014, I quit this job. That's an ultimatum. Otherwise, at 61 years old, I cannot waste my time on this. So, the premise is that now they say social, economic, and environmental. Do you know that about 70 to 80% of the principal criteria standards there, the indicators in the RSPO, 70 to 80% are on social and environmental. Hardly very small a portion is economic, and we do not raise the issue of that. And by then it's already too late. So after 10 years, we are actually out of love with RSPO. Personally, to me, but as an association, no, yeah, don't get me wrong here. But I'm speaking here as Mahathir, my personal opinion. I have a strong opinion about this, because don't let somebody decide your destiny in life. We have to take. And number one, number two, I must congratulate to the MPOB for the team with Aini Untung, Wahid, and all the rest. That this one MSPO must be compliant to the Malaysian laws. The Indonesian ISPO compliant to the Indonesian laws. ISPO is following the Switzerland's law. My question to them is, look, this solar palm will grow in Switzerland, produced by the growers here. Initially 10 years ago, 42% of the membership of ISPO are growers. By now, we are hardly 10% of the membership. Suddenly the rule of the game has changed. Suddenly we are outnumbered. And you know how many number of NGOs from Holland and UK and Germany inside RSPO? More than 250 of them. And growers is nothing more than 50 or 60 million. Then you are outnumbered. The game has changed, the demography has changed, the supply chain, the sustainability is to be seen from upstream, downstream supply chain, all the nodes. And what is happening is that the changes now, when one of the big companies in Europe mentioned that, okay, by 2015, we are not taking any more non-sustainable palm oil. Next, the wholesalers from our neighboring country or Malaysia mentioned, okay, we are not taking on peatland. And after that, the bank is telling you, what is happening, the supply chain, the nodes along the supply chain is receiving the mantra on sustainability that is being handed down by somebody else, which is somebody else's agenda. I won't be surprised it will be going later on to the inputs, fertilizer, chemicals, and all that. And this is what you fail to see this. Why did we fail? I do not know, but I'm sorry I get into this situation. I have to speak my mind, but if I cannot achieve it by the end of the year, I say I quit. So I must commend to IJ Wahid and IJ Kutuk for the work and done, but must make MSPO mandatory. If RSPO is voluntary, why must we make it voluntary? We make it mandatory, then we can enforce. And how to make it and enforce is that it must be linked to the replanting program, because it has everything to do with productivity. You have to develop sustainability index, because now not only palm oil, the beef industry in Australia is affected. Next they are going to target on the rubber, other commodities. So what you see is that it's about trying to save the rainforest, so to speak. So we must be mindful of that, but I told them that one of the things that we should look into now, the concept of sustainability, we must see what is in nature. I work on bees, social insects. Termites have been in this world for 400 million years. The ants have been here for 300 million years. The bees have been more between 45 to 65 million years. And how many climate change has happened before? So many times. They have survived hundreds of climate change. Let's learn from this social organism. What they have is that not only the economic, social, and environmental, they have such thing as sharing, cost sharing, sacrifice, capacity building, and governance. Strong governance. Where is the governance at RSPO? It's not in Malaysia, even though the office is here. Why is that the rules forms registered in Switzerland? And then the capacity building is the ability to generate something, to getting more with what we have, the resources that we have. And I thought that we must have a proactive strategy And another thing, MSPO must be market driven. And I think MPOB has done a good job. I believe next it should be at the MPOC. Licensing, everything, even certification should be another organization. Let MPOB concentrate on the research, because this is totally different ball game. If MPOC is doing the promotion marketing, therefore MSPO must be handled by them. So it must be market driven, respond to the needs of the public. And furthermore, if we profile further on our market, India and China takes about maybe 35% of our market. Europe is hardly 10 to 12%. We have to engage along the supply chain. India and China, we must listen to them. What is it in the supply chain that they need to insert in the value system? Otherwise, this is a social imperialism inserted into the value chain. Just like Gulliver's Travel, the NGO become packs all over your body, and you cannot move, and then it will systematically choke the supply chain. So, since I promised to talk very little, so I have to stop here because we have a small desk over there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, if you want to see passion, you just spend passion. Ladies and gentlemen, we've heard from the MPOA, we've heard from Kalda, we've heard from the eminent Tan Sri, a representative of the refining side, as well as the shareholders, the small shareholders. Now, we'd like to hear a few questions from you before I allow my panel to wrap up. The floor is yours.